Hello.
All right, thank you all for joining TC54. This is the meeting on July 3rd, 2025. Let me just pull up the agenda. I had it handy, but where did it go? Oh, here it is. All right, so just a note that this is being recorded. And if you would like to have kind of edits, omissions, please let me know. Before we publish, let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. I am going to move things around based on Samina's availability. But first and foremost, we actually have two previous minutes to approve. I had made a goof last meeting and we weren't kind of prepared. So I apologize for that. This one is for approving of the last meeting. So this is available. Again, this is just the running notes that we have that's automatically converted to Markdown. So, so there is that. Is there any objections to approving this?
Sorry, can you go what this list of people is that
Oh, yeah.
who was in attendance?
No, this is the list of the present column
Oh,
is the
okay,
people
okay,
who
okay.
actually attended.
I see.
So I've taken a little slightly different approach to how we represent the people. So, but yeah, the checkbox on the right.
Okay.
All right, I don't hear any objections to that, so let's consider that approved. And then finally, this is the meeting that was previous. We didn't have a meeting in May. We had one in April, so this is the April minutes. And again, it has the same format here. We had a fairly good turnout in April, but these are the minutes from April. Again, taken directly from our running meeting notes. Any objections to approving this? All right, I hear none. Consider both approved. Thank you so much. We have no new attendees. I don't have any announcements for today. Does anybody else have anything worthy of announcements? Okay. I'm going to skip down to number 6 because I'd like Samina to be here for this. This has been kind of on the schedule for a while now. This is the formation proposal to form TG. I'm sorry, it looks like Philip, you had your hand up.
No, briefly, just announcement, which is there's likely to be an opportunity to present the work of Ecma TC54 to the open source regulatory compliance working group. And so Samina is coordinating this with this group, and to be a great opportunity. At least Ole is online to do a presentation on TG1. I'll make a presentation on TG3. If there's somebody that can make a presentation on TG2, maybe we can have a presentation on TG3 and just wrap that up so we have overall a good thing on the TC54 overall. It'd be great.
Okay.
Thank you for bringing that up, Philippe. So yes, I did send an
Maybe
email
I stole
out.
your thunder.
Yeah, no, not at all. I wanted to wait for some feedback on the email, but it's very good. So the Open Regulatory Compliance Group and their working group, they do a CRA Mondays. They will resume in September. So it isn't that there would be a presentation in July or August. They'll have a summer recess, as far as I understand. But I think this is an opportunity for TC54 CycloneDX to have some excellent visibility to a much broader group of very interested parties on the topic of SBOM, which is critical to the CRA. So it would be an idea to do a presentation. I believe the slot is 1 hour to talk about CycloneDX and the related TGs that we have within TC54, and to talk about it with where we are technically, what would be interesting to have feedback, questions, and a very open dialogue with the broader community. And in order to be able to receive a slot and have the official approval and date, it would be great if we could have a short abstract that just identifies what it is we would like to cover. And I do ask that to the committee, to the chair and the conveners of the TGs to put some few words, lines together, and also to maybe highlight who speakers may be. And when we had the last discussion, perhaps the speakers are Philippe, Ole, he's not on the call, and perhaps yourself, Steve. It is an online session, and I can certainly do a summary and an overview, but really to bring the good work of TC54, CycloneDX, and how it's progressing to a broader audience. So please reflect that in the committee, and if you're happy to move forward, then we should take some next steps.
That would be amazing. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Philippe.
Yeah.
Let's work offline on maybe establishing a Google Doc, whatever, just to kind of rattle off some ideas. I know the folks from TG I don't know. The other TG are not necessarily here today. I'm getting them all confused.
TJX.
Yeah, the other TGs are not here today. So I will I'll sync up with Ole, and I'll sync up with Benji and Jordan as well. Because I think there's a opportunity to work on that statement as well as work on collaborate on a deck that we can kind of all show the great work that's coming out of this TC.
Can you include everyone here? Because I'd be curious to see how this progresses. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. All right. Moving on. Thank you for that, Philippe. I did want to. This has been on the. And let me post a link in the chat so folks have it. If you don't already, where is my chat? This has been on the schedule for quite a while already, so hopefully folks have had a chance to read it. We've been working on this for many months at this point, likely upwards of, I don't know, 6 or 8 months at this point. Me and Salve has been the primary leader of this, but you know, this is really about the formation of TG4. This is the kind of the working name that we have for it. However, this is really about OSS sustainability. So what is it that we need to do to, what are the things, for example, as a maintainer that you need for your project? Could be code reviews, could be event planning, could be a number of different things. What are the things that you need to help maintain that project going forward? It also has some capabilities, such as, you know, if you are only going to support a project for security fixes, or if you're only going to support a project for certain other cases, or if you're looking for additional maintainers, or if you're looking for somebody to take over the project, right? These are all ways in a machine readable way for a maintainer to basically be able to assert this information, which is going to be critically important when you're looking at the potential risk of open source projects, and more importantly, how you could theoretically contribute as an organization to using them, right? Not all contributions need to be technical. So this is really what this specification is about. We've done a lot of talking, a lot of refining on what it is that we want to do. Where is that document? This is the document here. Let me post this in the chat as well. So if you're interested in like what we've actually been talking about for the last 6 or 8 months, this is really the meat of what it is that we're trying to achieve with all these use cases. We also have like a taxonomy of things as well that the specification will eventually be able to support. So anyway, that's essentially what this proposal to form TG4 is all about. We plan to move the community work solely over to TG4. So that work would then, all that work would then fall into TG4 at that point. Are there any questions about what it is that we're trying to do with this specification?
Steve, this is Samina. You just mentioned that the community work would all come into here. Is that the community work from OWASP who are working on this topic, and it would come into TG4?
Yeah, so originally what we originally thought would happen is that the sustainability information would be added to CycloneDX, and we quickly realized that realistically we need a dedicated lightweight specification just to represent sustainability information. So at that point, it was no longer part of CycloneDX, but the community work kind of continued on under OWASP. What this proposal means is that that community work would be entirely shifted over to TG4.
The members of the community, Steve, are they the similar and overlapping members of the overall TC54 committee?
Yeah, right now, for the most part, with the exception of a few invited people here and there, for the most part, it's been myself and Salve who's kind of been leading this.
Salve represents a member.
He is not. That would be an invited expert.
Okay.
He represents the Perl, as in the programming language Perl, not package URL, but he represents the Perl programming language community.
I continue to be interested in this work and would like, would like to get more involved.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I wanted to move this over to TC54 is for increased visibility. We really want more and more participants in here. And I think there's a vested interest in sustainability from a lot of existing Ecma members as well. So we really want to increase participation in this specification. I think this is one way to do it.
To form this TG, oh, sorry, please go ahead, Lars, first.
Okay, thank you. I have a question, and I'm sorry if it's dumb. I can't follow all the meetings and developments anymore, but thank you for working on this. So I've heard about it for the first time, and it looks interesting and good. I immediately thought of the CLE, what is it, TG3, and whether there is some overlap with that there, and that is missing from this align with existing specifications list. So that just makes me wonder, do I misunderstand it? Or is there no connection between those two at all?
They're complementary specifications. CLE is really about the life cycle events, such as end of life and the support, but it also has things like support levels and that sort of thing, right? You can define your own custom support levels. You can say, hey, this version range, it had this life cycle event, such as, a new release, maybe we changed the license, whatever the case is. Those are all life cycle events. This is a complementary specification, really designed for sustainability.
Okay, I should have made so I'm specifically asking, I mean, this is no criticism at all. I'm really just trying to understand. I'm specifically asking about the identifying abandonment or handoff bits at the top there, which seem to me like, that's also like a life cycle event. And I just wanted to ask whether this is now, whether I need to identify abandonment in two different places, or whether this is,
No, that's
really
agreed. Yeah, that's a potential for that is a potential for collaboration between the two specs. So the sustainability work is not going to be time series. So versus CLE, which actually is, right? It's a running series of events. So there is collaboration. What that means for abandonment is really around, the first use case is really about maintainers being able to assert the sustainability information themselves, right? However, I mean, bus factors and other circumstances do happen. So what we want to be able to also do is have the ability for package ecosystems to also be able to assert sustainability information on a maintainer's behalf.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. No, that
Yep.
helped. I just, yeah, thanks.
Yep. Are there any objections to moving forward with the creation of TG4?
Except for the name, I don't have any objection.
The name, I kind of figured that might be
It
an
had to be
issue.
brought up. You know, that's the red sign you put here. So we don't look at the spec, we just look at the name.
Yeah, I get it.
Steve, I
No.
want to recommend that it is up to you and up to the committee together to form a new TG. And this would be number 4. It would also be understanding that this TG would work under the same principles that TC54, which is a royalty-free, as it is
Yes.
under. What you may like to do on this particular call, you do not have a lot of members on. You may like to provisionally approve this, and at our next call, ensure that there are other members on. And I see that Matt has joined the other link. I've asked him to come to this link. But you should, I would recommend, ensure that the other members are also agreeable, because you want them to have full buy-in and review that the topics that are covered are not overlapping. So I would just recommend that.
Okay.
But this is excellent. It brings more work, and I understand that this is relevant for TC54. So congratulations. The work is growing, and this is yet one more topic. So and on that
Sorry,
note,
Samina, I missed
Yes?
it. What did you recommend for next?
I do recommend that at your next meeting, which is scheduled, that there are more members, additional members, because currently there's actually 2 full members on here, and Philippe's organization is a non-for-profit, but it would be wise to also have other members such as IBM, ServiceNow, and not ServiceNow, Lockheed Martin, and others that are also active in this topic to also agree upon your forming of this new TG. I'm sure it'll move forward, just that you have a few more voices to give the approval. It is just part of the committee discussion.
Okay, sounds good. So provisionally approved, and we'll
Very
bring it up again next meeting. Okay.
Thank you. On that note, I will have to drop off and start another meeting. I will look at the minutes, and if I have to add a few more words to clarify my statement, I'll do so.
All right. Thanks,
Thanks.
Samina. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. So yeah, we can just simply change this to OSS sustainability.
What is DAGNAT? Like what?
It is a Norwegian word, to my understanding, that means something around community, like for people doing stuff for the community's benefit, is kind of my
Gotcha.
understanding of the word. Is that correct?
In German, it's Nachbarschaftshilfe, so helping your neighbors.
Okay. All right, so let's move on. Sounds like we have preliminary support for this. I will let Salve know. We do have some promotions to go through, and let's see. I know I had this open somewhere. All right. So the first promotion is around citations. Citations was, I think, a feature that I think, Matt, you brought to our attention a while ago.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is really the ability in the specification itself to assert how fields got their values. And what you can do here is, first of all, either the attributed to or the process are required, as well as pointers and timestamps. But the attributed to is basically any object, like a component, service. It could be a person, could be an organization, whatever. Who is making the claim? Who actually modified or added the data? So, for example, it could be a component, such as a tool that was used. Maybe the CycloneDX Maven plugin, right? Maybe that is the attributor that's the thing that actually created the data. Pointers. This is using JSON pointer to say this particular piece of data in the specification. And we're using the JSON pointer standard, which is an IETF standard, right? So we're not reinventing the wheel here. The timestamp of when it happened, and the process. Now, again, either the attributed to or the process or both can be specified. So from a practicality perspective, what you can say is that, you know, this license, for example, was attributed to, you know, the CycloneDX Maven plugin, which was executed in this process, in this build step. And that's how the data became to be. What this also means is that because the timestamps are there, what this also means is that if you have an enrichment phase in your SBOM creation, right? SBOM creation isn't necessarily a one-time event. It's typically a process. Enrichment is one of those phases in that process. So maybe you didn't have good licensing information up front, and you had to correct the licensing information before you actually published. Well, you could, you know, add that information there as well. So, so that's basically what the citation support is. We have a note here in case you want to make notes.
No, I just wanted to comment in saying that grateful for this making an appearance finally, because ever since we had formulation, this is a real world problem. And Steve touched upon all the use cases. Because we have a CISO team that often goes through the initial bombs for things, and they annotate, and they need to figure out where things came from. And they often, you know, like a concluded license, the legal team decides they concluded that one tool is better than another. We have multiple opinions, multiple tools running, providing things that attribute our bombs. We want to know which one was we attributed, you know, what tool we attributed to. And all these things are extremely valued. But for formulation, this really ties the formulation together. So this, you know, this tells you along the CI/CD process what tools ran. It can say you can actually, you know, link the actual things in the workflow and the tasks that were used to generate the information in the bomb. So it ties it all together. It's beautiful.
Yep. Jan?
Please finish, and I'll ask later when we are completely through the spec.
Okay. I think we're at the point now, unless there's any other questions, to approve or not approve this enhancement. Jan?
Okay, so now we are finished. Okay, actually, I have a question to the pointers thing, and regarding the process that Matt just explained. So we have these timestamps, and a pointer is pointing to exactly one value, so we can't track changes, as far as understood. Therefore, we would use several versions of the bomb, meaning, I mean, if you remember, CycloneDX has a serial number defining one document, and then you have the bomb version that could be incremented each time you change something. And for example, the workflow would be like refining a license. So it would change the value and add an element of citation with another timestamp telling, yep, I've changed this value based on a tool, a person's opinion, whatever it is, right?
Right. Well, yes and no. So when you're creating a bomb, right, you're going to start with that version 1, right? And your creation might be an entire CI/CD pipeline, and you're going to have multiple tools in that pipeline that is used to create, enhance, validate, etc. But you're still going to have version 1 of the bomb, and you could have multiple citations along the way for which tools in the process are actually modifying the data. When it comes to correcting the data, you might want to then bump the version, as you say, and maybe attribute the change to a human being, right? You can do like the attributed to, you can say the person, and the person could be the author, for example. So version 2 could be a manual modification, and that manual modification is then documented here, and it's attributed to a person, which is the author.
Ah, understood. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
We need
the
to,
other
that's a great question, because that tells me that there's likely some confusion on usage. So we need to do a really good job in the authoritative guide of explaining how to use this in a best practice.
Yeah, I've seen the examples to the docs, and maybe it might help if you could just show an example.
I don't, oh, you mean an example of what it looks like?
Yeah,
The oh yeah, sure. Let's see.
I mean, for me, it's easy. I reviewed them like an hour ago. So
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to get this in. And I put those. Oh wait, it's not it's in Cyclone specification, pull request. Okay, so let's just see an example of a JSON with a valid citation. So this is, for example, I've got an author up here, Alice example. I've got a component in my inventory. And then down here, I actually have some formulation information, a really, really simple, workflow. But my first citation, I give it a bomb ref. And I'm saying that the name field in right here, this name field is attributed to this person, and I create a note that it was manually entered, right? The second citation is the name field again, that was then overwritten by this task, the license, this task license scan. So that probably should be the license name, I guess. I don't know. And then citation 3 is the first license. That's the license ID. So that's this value right here was done by this scan tool inside of this process. So not only are you saying, hey, this tool did it, but you're saying when in the CI/CD process something actually took place. So that's kind of the example, at least it's a test example that we have. We will do a much better job in the guide of actually explaining how to use it.
the thing is that the spec says that it should be a thing in the formulation, but the scan tools are usually under the tools section, right? Not in the formulation. Formulation is a thing that builds the product, the component itself. But there's no way to tell that a certain tool was used during the during creation of the SBOM, right?
Oh yeah, so right here, this is your formulation components. You have formulation components and formulation services, which are outside the inventory. And these are components or services that are used specifically and only in formulation.
These are for per spec. Formulation is only related to creating the root component, as far as I know, and not creating the SBOM. So the tools that are used.
No, that's not accurate. Formulation can describe how anything came to be, whether it was a machine learning model, whether it was, my wife baking cookies, you can kind of describe anything with formulation.
But these are not the tools that generate the SBOM, right?
They could be the tools that generate the SBOM. They could be the tools that generate the software. It doesn't really matter, right? So if you're a target, you can specify I don't have an example. This is not a formulation test case, but the formulation can describe the target, and that target could in fact be the bomb ref of the bomb itself, not necessarily a piece of software.
Oh man, why? I mean, we have metadata tools already, which is defined exactly for that.
That's fine, but formulation describes how. not what. It describes the how. But this is not about formulation. This is about the citations. If there's
Describe
changes
how a
you want in
component or service was manufactured. Formulation per spec does not describe how the document, the SBOM, the CycloneDX was manufactured. This is what confuses me totally.
Yeah, that's actually inaccurate because that's exactly what we're doing.
Yeah, this was one thing that I found.
So,
when I read
Matt,
it
you
first.
wanna write that down and maybe we can correct the documentation on that for formulation.
I took a hard interrupt, so I hear that there's disappointment or misunderstanding from Jan. So I think that maybe we should do a core maintainer huddle, then and make sure it's on our calendars to talk about, to disambiguate.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there, regarding the citation support itself, again, we're not talking about formulation, what it can and cannot do, but is there any objection to moving the citation support forward?
From a programmatic point and from the goals, I really love this idea. Completely support it. It's just the implementation that I might need some little tweaks.
Okay.
I agree. There might be some tweaks. I mean, I'll admit that I heard the initial, concerns from Jan about the revisions, but I agree everything's being created relative to the same BOM typically. But I'd love to flush that out in my mind to make sure that if there are multiple revisions, that can be accounted for. But I think that may be concerning for in general with revisions. In terms of our transparency exchange API, I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah.
Okay. All right, let's set up a huddle and we'll talk about the implementation details. Were there any objections? I didn't hear any, but just. All right. No objections. Let's get that huddle scheduled, and we can figure out any kind of implementation issues that might exist. Moving on. We've got, is this one ready, Jan?
I think so. I hope. Let's see. Philip, are you ready with this?
This is SPDX licenses, so.
Yeah, it's the same thing like 4 months ago and later. And
yeah.
Let's wrap it up again. Was proposed like months ago, and Philip had an objection. His main concern was that it would allow ambiguity when expressing licenses, for the sole reason that currently you could either have one expression or something else. If you had an expression, it was the one and only you could have, and the problem was that there was, so that's the first thing. So Philippe's
yeah, and
fear was, yeah, again, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I said I didn't have a minute to look at that ever since we talked about it. So,
okay, then anyway.
I apologize there.
Then let's postpone it. No problem.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm putting that on my to-do list, but I didn't really have any minute to look at it.
Okay.
When is the freeze date for 1.7?
If we can get it done by the next meeting, that would be ideal.
Okay, so I'll put that on the to-do for me to review that by the end of next week, Jan.
Okay.
And
because I think our next meeting is in 2 or 3 weeks time, right? 3 weeks time.
Okay.
I put the link to the pull request in the
yes,
in the chat.
I have it in front of me, so it's
okay.
all there.
All right, Jan. Sorry. We'll put it again on the calendar for next week, for next meeting.
No worries.
And hopefully kind of get this moved past the finish line. In terms of a drop dead date, I need everything done by the August meeting. Yeah, the August meeting. Yeah, I think the August meeting. So yeah, if we can get this done by next meeting, that would be ideal. There might be a few things trickling in. The cryptography stuff will trickle in September, but in September I'm going to be primarily focused on getting the Ecma documentation kind of squared away, because we need to prepare for the General Assembly in December. So with that, let's get an update from the TGs. Ole is not here today. I don't really have an update from Ole either. Piotr, did you have any kind of update maybe for where we are with TG1?
We skipped a couple of meetings, so we skipped yesterday's meeting. We are doing some workshops, but yeah, I think I don't know if in the last TG54 meeting it was mentioned that the ETA is no longer December, is June next year.
Yep. All right,
So
very good.
That's probably, and then there are some internal changes, but we were discussing on them.
Yep. Philip, the TG2.
TG2, so we're doing good progress on TG2. We're planning originally to have the core standard completed this week. And now it's going to be completed by July 7th. So it's not a major delay. The last remaining item we're working on to really freeze the core standard is the refinement of the JSON schema that we'll use for each Perl package type. And we've discussed it this week. Was it yesterday, I think? Yes. Yesterday in the TG2 meeting. So great progress. I also commend Matt for his consistent participation in the community and weekly calls, and Piotr for all his help on the spec work. And actually, Piotr was invited to join as a spec helper and get write access to the commit, to write and commit access to the repo. So has been Matt. So thank you for that. So otherwise, again, we're tracking to get the spec presented to this committee. So the standard presented to this committee by September 1st, which will give us then ample time to, beyond the committee review we're going to have between next week and September 1st, will give us then further ample time to get a review by all the members of this committee and the community before it's formally presented to the Ecma plenary, I think sometimes in December.
I will have I tried to get it done the other day. I just ran out of time. I will have the draft of the Perl standard in Ecma TC markup format on the web. I'll have that done for the next TC54 meeting. So that will be complete based on the information that Michael provided the other day. And if that keeps on changing, just kind of let me know. But yeah, that will actually be ready by the next TC54 meeting.
Yeah. And so in terms of next step on our side, I think the big work afterwards is ensuring that we have well, from a standard point of view, there's multiple threads, but from a standard point of view, ensuring that we work with each of the implementers of the standard to help them be aware of the small changes in the spec that come from the clarification, and the standardization, and help them, if possible, to actually down to doing pull requests, if need be, to update their implementations to the latest level, and formalizing all the tests and test suites to make sure we have something that's as consistent as possible. There's a lot of other work to do and help on validation also, but that's outside of the work on standard. Really, from a standard point of view, the thing that's really important to me is ensuring that the standard can actually be implemented easily, and there's a smooth transition for any implementers to the latest spec. So I guess that's it for Perl.
All right. Thank you, Philippe. Benji and Jordan are neither one are here today. I do say that you know, because I attend the calls, the work continues. We are at a point now where we believe we will have everything ready again for September 1. So so that's kind of the update on that. I did do I presented to the Ecma General Assembly was it a week or two ago, and I kind of gave an update on not only the CycloneDX but all the work on the TGs, and I did let the General Assembly know that there is likely 3 specifications coming for General Assembly approval in December, and that is CycloneDX 1.7, the package URL from TG2, and Common Lifecycle Enumeration from TG3. So so that announcement was made as well. And we are through the agenda. Is there any new business that folks would like to bring up?
Lars put in the chat something before he left. I shared it and I captured it in the notes, but
I'll have to go through that. Did you capture that for the notes?
yeah,
Alyssa?
I
Okay.
just copied and pasted it. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Any other topics that folks want to bring up? I thought we were going to run out of time.
No, not on my side.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate the support. And it looks like I can give you 12 minutes back of your life.
And if
That's
you're
exciting.
Yeah, right.
If you're in the US, happy 4th of July.
Yes.
Thank
yes,
you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Have a good holiday weekend.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.